The failure of the City of Tshwane Council to pass the adjustment budget by a narrow margin of one vote means the metro is on the verge of being placed under administration once more. The ANC and EFF say they voted against the budget because the DA did not consult opposition parties. COGTA MEC and Gauteng Mzi Khumalo says the provision of basic services to residents will be negatively impacted as a result. Now, to unpack this further, we're joined now by EFF Caucus Whip in Tshwane, Godwin Ratikwane. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika.
Good morning and good morning to viewers at home.
Now, despite missing 3 deadlines and being granted 2 extensions, multi-party coalition partners were left with egg on their faces over this adjustment budget. What was wrong with it? Why didn't you vote?
Right. It's now a defeated adjustment budget. And we did not vote for that particular budget because it's not pro-poor. And by the way, the original budget that they passed was also not pro-poor. But the worst thing with this particular budget was that they wanted to take what was belonging to the townships, the black communities, and take it to the affluent areas, only to cover up for their mess. So basically, if you go back to the COGTA General report that came out earlier this year, you will pick up that there was many problems in terms of irregular expenditure and all that. So basically they wanted to use this adjustment budget to cover up where they've already overspent and there is fruitless expenditure and unauthorized expenditures. So then they wanted to come up with that. So as a responsible opposition party, we cannot sit there and condone such, because now we are just being part of this whole thing. If you check that particular budget, they are taking about 45 million that is meant for roads and transport. That means all the potholes in the city of Tshwane will not be able to be repaired and all that. And on the water and sanitation, there is about 72.5 million that is being taken on water and sanitation. That on its own is a serious problem. We've got housing project, human settlement, around 100 million is going. I mean, I can give an example with the Oliven Hood Bosch. There is an extension 60 there where there's construction. The original budget had allocated 6.8 million. The DA multi-party coalition is wanted to take 5.8 million from that particular 6.8 million. So leaving the citizens or the residents of Oliven Hood Bosch and Tshwane in general with absolutely nothing. So we could not support that particular budget. And they also want to sell the assets of the city in order for them to raise the money. The EFF does not stand for that. The EFF wants to build state capacity, and the EFF wants to make sure that we have a city that can be financially viable tomorrow.
The political turmoil in the metro has essentially resulted in this outcome. Would your position have been the same had Makwarela still been in the position, still at the helm?
Well, if we had a different mayor that is not from the DA, probably things would be different, because we would understand that it's just a new mayor, and also that particular person would have a will. No, it will be also a different budget, because we wouldn't have drafted that particular adjustment budget in that particular manner. It couldn't have been like that. We can't take resources from the poor areas of Tshwane and then take it to the affluent areas. We can't take budget that is meant for poor communities and then take it to cover up our own irregular expenditure and fruitless expenditure.
So what did you want to see in terms of allocation? What did you want to see in a budget?
Well, basically we want to see resources being directed where they're supposed to be directed. If you check on different media radios and media outlets, you pick up that there is issues with potholes. So a budget of roads and transport is critical in the city of Tshwane. There is so many areas that don't have tar roads. So by you taking that particular budget, you are creating a problem. Also, the DA is a master of underspending and retaining funds. Grant funds that are being given to the DA-led administration, the DA makes sure that they don't spend that money, because I don't think the DA loves people of Tshwane. If they love the people of Tshwane, they would have made sure that when there is grant funding that comes from province or national, that particular grant funding gets utilized. But in this case, these people are not spending any money where it matters. And they take money and resources to the affluent areas. So it couldn't have been there if we had a different mayor.
So what does it mean now in terms of projections on revenue?
Right, so basically it's still a serious problem. They are in a serious problem, these people. They can't fund anything. They don't have money for anything. It's just a ticking time bomb before we see another letter from Eskom, or we hear that the buses cannot transport the residents of Tshwane. We won't be surprised, because how can you have people who've messed up being the ones who want to claim to be able to fix, while they're the ones who fix? Remember, the DA took this municipality in 2016. 7 years later, we're still in this particular problem. And all the problems that we are finding ourselves in the city of Tshwane is because of the DA-led administration. They have increased rates and tariffs People of Tshwane can't afford to even pay the rates and taxes in Tshwane because of the DA. They cannot collect money, and when they do collect money, they go on a popular stunt. Tshwane Ratima, now it has all faded in thin air. No one is even following up on that program because it was a reactionary program at large. So
while the political turmoil is underway, at the end of the day, the people that want things to work are being affected. The danger by the failure by the municipal council. What does this mean now when it comes to the provision of basic services? I mean, they'll be adversely affected while the squabbling goes on. The people on the ground that you want to defend are still struggling.
We are defending them. We don't want to defend them. Let me tell you, we are already defending them. The issue here is that as an opposition party, you don't have an obligation to rubber stamp wrong things. So if then squabbling means that we are standing up for the constitutional right and we are raising red flags where we see them, then that is fine for us to be called squabblists in a sense. Because we are there to make sure that we exercise our constitutional right and we make sure that we are the voice of our communities. So the people of Oliver North Bush are depending on myself because I'm the local councillor there, even though not the ward councillor. They're depending on me to speak about all these things that are ill-advised and are meant to basically disadvantage them. So already I'm protecting them. The issue here is that if the DA, because I know that question is going there, if the DA goes under administration, it will be because of their own incompetence. It will not be because of the ANC or the EFF for that matter, because we are not in charge of the government. But if they do wrong things, then this thing might end up being going to administration, which the EFF were not part and parcel of that because we are not running the provincial government as well of Gauteng. So if it happens, it happens. But we want to see a situation whereby the residents of Tshwane are benefiting day to day on the running of the municipality of Tshwane.
No one is winning the city outright, and what we can see, the squabbles are an indication that coalitions are failing. What next? What does it mean?
Well, let me tell you, there is bad management of coalitions, especially by the DA. As the EFF, of course, want to win the elections and want to win the municipality outright. At this current stage, you have a DA that is so arrogant that even when they don't have capacity internally to run the city of Tshwane, they will still force to put people as mayors and want to put them as MMCs, knowing that those people are totally incompetent. If you check the last mayor, Randall Williams, was bad news, that guy from the DA. He was just bad news. The guy, you just put him there, you see that this guy is just sent. He has got no capacity to speak his own mind. He's directed from HQ in Cape Town to say do X and do Y, and then the guy does not have a backbone of his own because he's not even confident that what he's telling the people of Tshwane, he believes it himself. So that's why this guy had to be removed. You have people who are out there to loot. We have people that the same guy wanted to basically steal the 26 million rand 2 power stations in Tshwane. We had to also put him out. So we know that it's not long until when we're going to find the brink also doing something wrong.
So in terms of messaging the people of Tshwane, what message do we take from this? Because it's chaos.
Yeah, so the people of Tshwane need to know that this is a democratic country. And democracy means you must go and vote. Also, democracy means you must be willing to change your vote and vote accordingly. When you have the EFF that is showing you all these red flags, you need to go and vote for them so that they can take government. But if you don't go and vote for the EFF, you are going to have a situation whereby you have councillors that are hung. If you go and vote for the same people that are doing the same mistakes and that are putting you into bad positions like they are putting us currently, you are allowing them. It's your own issue now as a citizen or the residents of Tshwane to now bear with. Let's all go out and vote. Young people must go out and vote. Because at the end of the day, it's those votes that are putting us in this particular position, by the way. Because we keep on retaining people that we see that they cannot run the affairs of the country or the city. And then we leave them in those positions. Tomorrow you say, no, the EFF is not doing anything. But at the end of the day, the numbers are what will determine whether the EFF has got power in these councils or in the provincial legislature or even in parliament.
So, missing 3 deadlines, being granted 2 extensions. What happens if the EFF doesn't get into power and the DA continues here and no passing of the budget?
Right?
What's left?
We are not having a problem with being effective opposition. We've been effective opposition in this country since we were basically born as a party, and we formed a party called the EFF in 2013. So we've been opposition since the last election, and we are comfortable to do that until when we are voted and our people have already taken a position that they want the EFF to be in government. Now, the issues in terms of whether the EFF comes into power can be resolved by the voter. It's actually beyond us as the EFF.
Yeah.
What we can do is to agitate them to go to the polls and vote for the EFF. But in the meantime, we need to be an effective opposition. We need to raise issues. We can't sit there. Like when we see that these people want to take resources, right? They want to take resources that are meant for fixing potholes and all these things. We can't sit and then tomorrow we are leaving the responsibility of being a councillor and being proactive citizens at an advanced level, by the way, as the EFF. And we just leave it to the DA to do what it wants to do. And then we come and we complain in radio stations while we are not doing anything. We are going to vote against anything that we believe that is anti-black people and is not pro-poor and does not assist the government and also goes against the policies of the EFF.
So your speaker adjourned the meeting before the motion was put before. What is your position there? Because the DA is really gunning for your speaker.
Yes, he's the speaker of the ATM. That, of course, is the speaker of council, so by extension is my speaker. Now, the issue here is that when you have a court case going on, because the DA is the one that took the speaker to court to say that, no, the speaker must recuse himself and so forth. When the judge has taken a decision, you need to now go back and reflect on that particular decision. So the speaker said that we don't have a written judgment. The judge just said your matter is dismissed. It will be followed by a proper order that will come through from the judge. So we had not received that particular order at the time. The speaker said this is quite premature because we don't know the reasons necessarily why the judge has ordered this motion to be thrown out of court, and therefore let's go back and we'll call this matter if you want to call it later. But he's the legitimate speaker. By the way, we had Katlego Matebe who was dismissing the motions against her. The last administration that started in 2016. We have Katlego Matebe who was dismissing the motions against herself sitting on the chair. So this is nothing new. We are creating this impression that what has happened recently had never happened. If you go back to the archives of the City of Tshwane, you will see that Katlego Matebe, who was the previous speaker, who was the DA speaker, was dismissing her own motions time and again. And nothing has ever happened. In fact, dismissed it until when we went to administration, by the way. Were taken to administration by that time when she was doing that. So
you're going to watch the Tshwane municipality being placed under administration?
No, we won't.
What are you going to do?
The fact of the matter is that we'll become effective opposition. We have no role per se in terms of whether it goes there or it doesn't go there. Because we are not the government in the City of Tshwane. We are also not the government in the provincial legislature or provincial government, Gauteng provincial government. So as a result, we are basically there as effective opposition to make sure that anyone that does anything wrong, irrespective of which municipality or which province, we are going to guard against that. And then we will always come back and be as effective as possible.
Godwin, let me thank you for your time. Thanks for coming to speak to us in studio. Godwin Ratikwane, EFF Caucus Whip, speaking about the failure of the City of Tshwane Council to pass this adjustment budget, despite being granted 2 extensions and missing 3 deadlines.